Hello and welcome to Gamer2Creator's C++11 beginner tutorial. I'm Chris. In the last video we talked about the if statement and how it uses bools and Boolean logic in order to branch your program's execution. This time we're going to talk about while loops. A while loop will do something repeatedly until its condition is false. This is the basic syntax for a while loop. In here, we're going to put b, which is our Boolean value that we created above. While this value is true, it will keep executing this code inside, from the top to the bottom, and then it comes back up to the condition, tests again. If it's true, then it executes the code from top to bottom again. It'll do that into infinity until the condition becomes false, and then it starts at the next line of your application. Right there, which would be the send.get. So let's write a little something. Let's do, instead of just using a bool value here, we're going to use what's called a comparison operator, the less than operator, in combination with a long int, an unsigned one. So we don't need a negative value. We're going to call it loop count, and we're going to assign it the value of 0. Now, while loop count is less than, let's say, 100,000. Is that 100,000? While it is less than 100,000, we're going to keep looping. And inside the loop, first we're going to print out the value of loop count on a new line each time. And then we're going to add 1 to loop count. So, you can read this kind of like an English question. While loop count is less than 100,000, loop. And it'll do these statements from top to bottom and then check the condition again. So let's see this in action. So as you can see, it's counting as fast as it possibly can. We've already gotten to 30,000. We'll get to 100,000 shortly, depending on how fast your computer is running. And we're just about there. And then it stops. 9,999. 99,999. That's because 99,999 is the last number that's less than 100,000. And then our loop terminates. And we're currently at the send.get line, which is just waiting for a character. And then it exits. So let's make this smaller. Let's do 5. And we're going to go through the debugger, and we're going to actually watch what it does line by line, starting at loop count right here. So what it's done so far is it's gone through our main function, starting right here, and done all this code, which none of it we really need right now. I've just been keeping them up there to kind of drill it into your head that that's important. It has nothing to do with our current code. So we're right here. We've created loop count, which is currently this huge number. It's a junk value. We step over, it will be given the value of 0. Now, this little yellow arrow is where we are. This is the line that is currently waiting to be executed. And as you can see, we haven't outputted anything yet to the console. So as I click step over, watch what happens to the arrow. Every time it starts from the top, it checks this condition. If it's true, then it executes the code. Now right now, as we can see in the locals window, loop count is 3. So loop count is less than 5. Now it's 4. It's still less than 5. So it's going to do it again. But now, when we reach this line, loop count is now 5. So 5 is not less than 5. And the loop breaks. And it goes all the way down to right here. So it's important to understand that the second this became 5 was not the end of the loop. If there was more code here, it would keep executing code. It would actually do this line while loop count is 5. It won't actually break from the loop until it goes to the bottom, to the end of the loop, and then jumps back up and tests the condition again. So as you can see, on the last time when 4 was printed out, it still put blah there. Because on that last iteration, it printed out 4, and then loop count became 5. And even though this condition is technically false, it doesn't test it yet. It continues to the end of the loop of the code within these two brackets and then tests. So this is a very powerful way of being able to do something multiple times. And using things like arrays and vectors and things, it allows you to do similar instructions on many objects. We'll get into arrays later. And it also allows you to do the same instructions on a single object. Now there's one other kind of loop. It's called a for loop. And we'll get into this in the next video. And the last point I want to make is that I want to make sure that you understand that this returns. This is actually an operator right here, the less than. It's a function call. And it returns a Boolean value, an object that is a bool. And that's what makes the condition work. And we'll also get into functions a little bit later.